You see, Jack, plenty of liquor never hurt anyone. Being drunk is just about the best thing I know of.
We've heard there are some rumors of the dangers of beer. Our research reveals that only one thing is clear. Chronic heavy drinking makes your wills disappear. You don't need your liver or your elderly years. Just give up on happiness or future careers. All you need is alcohol, so buy some now.
We all know drinking isn't exactly like this. We've constantly been exposed to the idea that drinking and college just go together. Movies and television constantly portray alcohol consumption as a fun, comical activity with no real consequences. This is a clip from the 2003 movie Old School. The feeling of carelessness carries over to real life. Here's a video clip of one of your Geneseo classmates funneling a beer.
Let's go, Drew! Pussy!
Does this look familiar?
Oh, he gets it! Woo!
Here's some statistics. About 4 in 5 of all college students drink, including nearly 60% of students age 18 to 20. Almost 600,000 students between the ages of 18 and 24 are unintentionally injured under the influence of alcohol each year. It's estimated that 25% of college students report academic consequences of their drinking, including missing class, falling behind, doing poorly on exams or papers, and receiving lower grades overall. The National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism defines binge drinking as a pattern of drinking that brings a person's blood alcohol concentration to 0.08 grams per cent or above. This typically happens when men consume 5 more drinks and when women consume 4 more drinks in about 2 hours. About 90% of the alcohol consumed by youth under the age of 21 in the United States is in the form of binge drinks. The proportion of current drinkers that binge is highest in the 18 to 20-year-old group, with 51%. Perhaps the most striking statistic of all is that each year over 1,800 students die of alcohol-related problems.
How does this affect Geneseo?
Here's some live footage at a party in Geneseo.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26.
Kids leave parties overly inebriated, putting not only themselves at risk, but the Geneseo population. Townsfolk are afraid not only for themselves, but for the damage that these drunks do to the public and private property. However, noise complaints aren't the biggest issue at Geneseo.
Daniel Weck quietly appeared in Livingston County Court last week, pleading guilty to taking part in the drinking activities that ultimately led to the death of fellow student Armin Partamian. Weck pled guilty to unlawfully dealing with a child and will have to spend weekends at the Livingston County Jail for the next 3 months.
We met with Caitlin, the girl who called the police for Armin the night he died, to discuss his last evening. Armin started drinking at 10 in the morning, and had continued all day until the time that Caitlin saw him at 10 o'clock that night. Armin was being hazed as part of pledging for the Pigs Drinking Club. It was clear that he was intoxicated, and things only got worse when he started throwing up from being forced to drink a bottle of vodka. Caitlin had wanted to call the cops, but her friends made her feel stupid for wanting to get involved. It wasn't until later that night Caitlin called the cops, although nobody took it seriously. Both the university police and 911 didn't respond well. After puking, Armin passed out and was left by a student to sleep off his alcohol in a bedroom. The next morning, Armin was found dead by a different student, and cops finally came.
So what needs to change? Police tactics?
We also interviewed the chief of the Geneseo Police Department, Eric Osganian. He told us that police patrol tactics haven't changed since Armin's death, but it's just more visible. The police receive a $20,000 grant to fight alcohol-related crimes, $10,000 of which is used to have more patrols on the weekends. In addition, a bill was passed in November to give amnesty for a student calling for a drunk friend as long as they didn't provide them with the alcohol. Even from a student's point of view, the police is doing all they can to try to combat Geneseo's drinking problem.
Partamian's death shook the Geneseo campus last spring. His blood alcohol level at .55 when he was found dead inside the off-campus house of the independent fraternity known as the Pigs. As the new school year begins, students have noticed more police presence.
Drinking-associated crimes are one of the top 3 problems that Geneseo has, with the most tickets getting issued at the beginning of the academic year. He was insightful in regard to the townspeople's role in helping solve the problem, which is through support of alcohol education and awareness programs through the police.
We also had something at New Student Orientation in August where every one of our freshman students was trained in something called bystander training with the hope that they will intervene when they see their friends doing something that might be leading them down a tragic road.
Do you believe an event such as Armin's death is going to repeat itself?
It could easily, yes. And there have been some instances when a person's life has been saved by an incident on North Street. It must have been 3 or so years ago, where this guy was bent over and was purple. And the police officer happened to come for some other reason or something or other and literally saved the kid's life.
So why the sudden change? Why should we start caring now? People die, right? 1 kid every 4 years doesn't sound too bad. Wrong. That's awful. Nobody needs to die. Students just need to look out for one another. Everyone we've interviewed agrees that an event like this will definitely repeat itself in the near future. It's due to happen, yet we, the students, are not doing anything to try and stop that. What if that had been your friend? What if that had been you? What would your parents have done? It only takes a little bit for a night to get out of hand, and a little peer pressure, and who knows, you could be the next Armin.
But not everyone appears to be getting the message. I-Team 10 has learned that grand jury subpoenas recently went out regarding an incident that occurred at this fraternity house on September 8th. Sources tell us 4 underage students were taken to the hospital that night after drinking too much during a pledge event here at the DK House, a recognized fraternity at Geneseo.
During our interview with Caitlin, she suggested several ways that the students and faculty could help avoid having another person lose his or her life to alcohol. Fraternities could employ the sober brother policy, where one member would remain sober for the duration of the party and help keep friends and guests safe. Another way to keep peers safe would be the mandatory reporter, where a person in a group of friends would stay sober and take it upon themselves to call help if need be. Friends should always have a buddy to stay with them for the night, so people will always have someone to look after them. Caitlin also mentioned the stand-up project, where the students and administration could work together to help avoid being bystanders when peers are in trouble. When we had the mayor in for the interview, he gave us this pamphlet called Be a Good Neighbor, which is filled with a bunch of great information on ways to avoid having problems with the townspeople and being safe when having parties. If you lost yours, which I'm pretty sure you already did, I suggest picking up another one. And remember, if you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem.